Yeah, please. So, we are now in from Glasgow, and we are ready for the next event on maritime transport. And the first speaker, which I will shortly introduce, is Jari Kauppalja, head of the Secretary General's office at OECD, International Transport Forum, and he will be entering the stage shortly. So Jari, welcome. Good to see you again, and it's been a while since COVID took us apart. You prepared a report for us back then, and things that happened in policy development within EU and also in London at IMO. So I'd like you to take us through some of the key findings from the report.
Yes.
And then also share with us your thoughts, what happened afterwards, and how the future looked like, and basically also how the Nordics can play, which role Nordic can play in this development towards low carbon maritime transport. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rand. And indeed, we had our workshop was end of February 2020, just before the pandemic hit. So it was really one of the last events that we organized at the ITF together with you. So very pleased to be here today. I guess this is where the cameras are directed this way. And,
this one, yeah.
Perfect. So thank you very much for having me here today. I will very briefly in 5 minutes go through some of the results from the report Sven mentioned on navigating towards cleaner maritime shipping, lessons from the Nordic region. This is a report where we really wanted to review the technologies and policies that can reduce emissions from global shipping. The pioneering developments we felt that the Nordic countries have an important global policy relevance, that these lessons should and could be shared with the global audience as well. This was a collaborative project, research between ITF and Nordic Energy Research. We had the workshop at the World Maritime University end of February, just before the pandemic, and then final report was published end of 2020. So I will just give you a very short overview of the key conclusions of the report. I don't know if the slides are changing. Yes, they are. We had 6 key recommendations in the report based on the experience we have in the Nordic countries on decarbonizing maritime. And I'd like to go through also what has happened since then. It's been a short period of time, it's only 1.5 years, less than 2 years, and a lot of developments on the maritime sector have taken place during this period of time. Our first recommendations was really to increase the energy efficiency of new and existing ships. Norway and Denmark have been quite advanced countries in proposing mandatory technical or design efficiency improvements for existing fleets, as we know as labeled EEXI, EXI labels. And quite positive development has taken place since then. At the IMO Environmental Protection Committee meeting, we did have agreement in June 2021 on efficiency measures for existing ships. The exact nature and detail how this will be worked out is still uncertain, but we strongly believe that we need to ensure that the efficiency measures that we put in place are as strict as possible and have significant emission reduction impact in the short term. Our second recommendation was on leveraging public sector procurement to stimulate the electrification of short distance shipping. Again, some quite positive development in the EU Fit for 55, and especially in the EU revision of the directive on deployment of alternative fuel infrastructure, where it is said that the member state should ensure that the minimum shoreside electricity supply is provided for maritime ports by 2030. This actually goes a bit further than our recommendation on stimulating. It actually goes to introducing regulatory requirements for onshore power supply. So again, I think very, very good moving forward there. Third one, introducing regulations on life cycle emissions of maritime fuels. this is a part of where we believe that the stakeholders should really support the adoption of a life cycle or well-to-wake emission framework for assessing energy use and greenhouse gas emissions of shipping fuels. Again, I think in the Fit for 55 proposal, and particularly the Fuel EU Maritime Regulation, does establish a common framework, regulatory framework, to limit the yearly greenhouse intensity, and it recommends a well-to-wake accounting basis, which really is aligning again on the recommendations done in the report that we did based on the Nordic examples. On the next slide, we go to the difficult part. What we recommend is putting in place some carbon pricing for shipping and policies that can reduce carbon content of ship fuels. I believe there's a momentum here for push for carbon pricing in the shipping in the recent proposals. Initiative that Nordic countries have put in place in terms of the carbon taxes, environmentally differentiated port pricing and electricity tax exemptions can actually serve as an inspiration for other countries wishing to move towards zero carbon shipping. We saw at the June Environmental Protection Committee meeting, Marshall Islands, Solomon Islands submitted a proposal for carbon levy, and Norway has submitted an alternative proposal of global CO2 quotas for shipping very recently. Also, the representatives from the Climate Vulnerable Forum, which represent around 50 countries, call for working towards a mandatory greenhouse gas levy on international shipping. So there's a momentum here, and we need to gain that momentum for going for the market-based mechanisms, and at the same time make sure it integrates the technological policies that allow to scale up supply of low-carbon fuels. And the two last recommendations. Advance the discussion on market-based mechanisms at the IMO. I think the examples I already put forward previously are moving this direction, but again, I would just reiterate that the Nordic countries could really support a review that maps the state-of-the-art carbon pricing mechanisms and the market-based mechanisms. And finally, we recommend launching pilot projects to gain experience with new fuels and accelerating the adoption of safety guidelines. This is quite important. There's a lot of research and additional pilot projects on promising fuels, such as ammonia, liquid hydrogen, advanced biofuels. These are really important to address the technical challenges associated with the use of the new marine fuels. Here we've seen several announcements. We hear announcement probably here in COP still coming up as well. Wärtsilä has announced an ammonia engine by 23-25. We had heard Maersk working on 8 ships on renewable methanol and ammonia. So there are several pilots that we need to really ensure that these go forward and are then used as an example that accelerate the uptake of these new technologies and alternative fuels. So with that, I leave it here for my very, very short introduction, and the report is available at the ITF International Transport Forum website for any of the viewers and any of the audience here in Glasgow. Thank you.
Stay with us, and I might call you up again. We'll see. Now I pass the word over to Helsinki, and Peter, you take it on from here. Next speaker. Thank you. No sound.
Hub in Helsinki with a live audience as well as people joining us online. So we thank you for the presentation, Yuri. We have some questions for you, and I guess we can start off with the questions that you have in the audience in Glasgow. Any questions there, Sven?
Yes, please.
Yes, good morning. My name is Jan Christoph Nephews. I'm from the Maersk McKinney Møller Center for Zero Carbon Shipping in Copenhagen. Thank you very much for your presentation and also on your view of the Fit for 55 package. My question is also a little bit on how you view the Fit for 55 in relation to the international work at IMO. Do you see it as an important stepping stone towards international regulation, or what is your perspective on this? And looking at the development at IMO, could you maybe elaborate a little bit on your view of the concrete proposals of the levies where they are. Thank you.
Jari, please.
I don't know if this microphone is on, if you can hear me.
It's
through
okay.
This one. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you very much for the question. Our role at the ITF International Transport Forum is really what we want to do is provide information on effective measures. We want to quantify the measures, we want to take those forward, provide that evidence-based policy making that is important in that international negotiation side. We all acknowledge the challenges of coming together with 190 plus countries and agreeing on principles, on measures, and I think what we need is that evidence. When it comes to the EU proposal, I think it shows the direction for Fit for 55, and I think it shows the direction for the global community of where we want to go, and I do hope that it then is a really major stepping stone towards a global framework for the shipping side as well.
So thank you for that, Jari. Any additional questions before we move on to the next? No? In that case, I think, Peter, you are ready to go with the next presentation from...
yes, thank you very much, Juri. I also had a question for you because we just had a presentation also about the aviation industry, and everyone's asking for measures to increase the production of biofuels, for instance. What are your take on where do we have enough energy to decarbonize all the parts of the transportation sector all at once? How will that turn out, in your opinion?
Thank you. That's a tough question. I do think that in terms of the biofuel itself, we do not have enough to go for one solution that fits everything. So we do need to take into account, we need to take all the measures. We need to look at electrification, and I think here, if I look at some of the technology that is closest to deliver reduced emission shipping, I think ship electrification for ferries and short sea shipping actually is quite an attractive option where the Nordic countries have really been the leaders, and then biofuel plays a role in that whole picture. But obviously we need to see where it makes most sense at the lowest cost and delivering the most effective solutions.
Thank you, Jari.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
So also joining us here in Helsinki, we have Nina Egeli, who is a senior advisor at Nordic Innovation. And one of your key responsibilities is the implementation of programs driving innovation and supporting Nordic businesses. Can you tell us a little bit more about your programs?
That I will certainly do, Peter. When we at Nordic Innovation created the Nordic Smart Mobility and Connectivity Program 4 years ago, there was no doubt that the maritime sector would have to be one of the cornerstones of the program. The sea unites our region in so many ways. Also, the maritime industry will have to undergo enormous changes if we are to meet the targets set for cutting emissions. The challenges are massive, but so are also the opportunities. The rationale behind the Nordic Mobility Program is that we can better tackle the challenges facing us by working together in joint innovation projects. We can shorten the way to a decarbonized maritime industry by combining our strengths, by combining our technologies and know-how, by sharing risk and investing together. Nordic companies, innovation ecosystems and other players are joining forces across borders to come up with new business models and concrete solutions to cut emissions and to achieve energy efficiency. We will share with you today a couple of examples from our Nordic Smart Mobility and Connectivity Program, showcasing how different approaches can be used to reach decarbonization. For instance, through targeting fuels, port infrastructure, or the ship itself. The connected ship was selected to be part of the joint Nordic Mobility Program, because it is a brilliant example of how players from different industries and different countries can come together to build entirely new solutions, using the best from all parties involved, and in that way increase the potential for impact and change. And we have, over the past couple of years, had a Nordic Innovation Seamless Land Mobility mission running on decarbonizing. The new offshore wind ports in the Nordics project was recently selected the winner of this competition. And we will soon hear from both projects.
Thank you very much, Nina. And our next contributor is the winner of this competition, and that's Gustavo Fels de Luna. He is originally from Brazil, working in Denmark for the last 15 years. Gustavo is the project manager of new offshore wind ports in the Nordics, shortened to NOW Ports. He is the international project manager at Energy Cluster in Denmark, with more than a decade of experience working with small and medium enterprises in the oil and gas and offshore wind sector. As he is as a seasoned professional contributing to the NOW Ports project. Thanks for joining us from Copenhagen, Gustavo, and with the presentation New Offshore Wind Projects in the Nordics, and also, as I said, the winner of Consortium of Sea Meets Land competition. Congratulations.
And thank you for this introduction. I hope you're going to be able to share my slides on the screen. And thank you, Nordic Innovation, for this incredible opportunity in partaking in this important event. Thank you also, dear participants in Glasgow. Should probably find my presentation.
So
thank you also, dear participants in Glasgow, Oslo, Helsinki, and from other regions around the world. We are pleased to be here today presenting our innovation project, New Offshore Wind Ports in the Nordics, as the winner consortium of the Sea Meets Land competition.
Let's see if we have your slides with us very soon.
Very good.
We'll give the technicians some seconds.
No worries.
Or maybe you just have to start, and then they'll come very briefly, I hope. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So I have brought some background slides on the European Commission targets. The European Commission has presented in November 2020 ambitious offshore renewable energy strategy that foresees 300 gigawatts of offshore wind development by 2050. Already within this decade, the European Commission expects over 110 gigawatts from current capacity of 25 gigawatts in Europe. If these ambitious targets materialize, offshore wind will contribute to mass scale of renewable energy production, helping transforming Europe into the first climate neutral continent by 2050. In this context, ports are central to the development of offshore wind. They play a key role for the local supply chain, logistics, and supporting infrastructure. Ports enables offshore wind turbines commissioning and installation, and where operation and maintenance of offshore wind farms are run. Where all offshore wind turbines and equipment get transported, and where floating turbines will be assembled in the future. Ports will also have a prominent role in the production and distribution of renewable hydrogen. As wind turbines are growing in weight and size, greater demands are placed on the existing and the new offshore wind ports, and the great investments will be needed. The solution for this, or as part of the solution, is to create industry collaboration on innovation. And in order to prepare for this massive growth, we have support to support this development. We have established a large consortium consisting of more than 30 industry participants. And this includes Nordic ports, super sites, as well as O&M manufacturers, developers, and SMEs, startups, and innovators. So now ports will be facilitating collaboration and development of Nordic ports in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. 8 ports and super sites will enter innovative collaboration with players in the offshore wind industry, with a view towards upgrading, redesigning, adapting existing facilities, and decarbonizing ports infrastructures. The goal is to make Nordic ports ready for these expanding offshore wind with a strong focus on greener ports, infrastructures, and new value chains. Our innovation project, Now Ports, also hopes to inspire other regions around the world to learn the best practices from leading Nordic offshore ports and their supply chains. All this is expected to be achieved with a great support from Nordic Innovation and co-financing provided through the Nordic Smart Mobility and Connectivity Program. Next slide, please. So I would like to conclude. Thank you for your time and interest in listening to this presentation. My contact details can be found here on your screen. So please do not hesitate to contact us in case you want to hear more about Now Ports, to learn how to engage with us, and how to join our planned activities in the future.
Thank you so much, Gustavo, and sorry about that we didn't have to get to show the very nice cluster of all the contributors that you have, but I know that it's quite an impressive amount of important ports that are in this project. So could you just elaborate a little bit more about the main benefits for the Nordics through these innovation projects?
The benefits, specifically if we talk about the ports, are great because it's an emerging industry, it's an emerging market. Investments will be needed, collaboration with industry will be required. So it depends of the port's level of maturity. If they are already an established player in the industry, they can act as a challenge owner of the innovation challenge that we are going to be looking to this project. But if it is a newcomer, a port as a newcomer to the industry that wants to enter, to penetrate the industry and create the suitable infrastructure and also green infrastructure for entering this industry, they can learn a lot from other experienced players that are part of this consortium.
So which role can these ports play in this innovation project, and what is the benefit on their side?
Well, as I mentioned, depending where they are and develop the level of maturity that they have, they can benefit to create suitable and green infrastructure and develop competencies for the future. They're gonna get more ready for this growth, and at the same time, they're gonna develop the correct capabilities, also supply chain capabilities for attaining this market opportunity.
Thank you very much, Gustavo. Sven, do you have any questions from Glasgow?
I can't hear you.
Can't hear your sound, but
Okay, we might pick up. You hear me now?
yes.
Yeah, good. We might pick up after the presentation of. Oh, we do have a question. 1 second.
Yeah, keep it short. That's the.
Oh, it was pulled back. Anyway, we will come back after the presentation from Maritime Cleantech, because I think we can tie up a nice note at the end there. Thank you. So please go ahead, Peter, and introduce the next presenter.
Thank you, Sven. Next in line is Nanna Titt-Guttorpsen, also joining us from Copenhagen, with her colleague Johan Lindén. Nanna is primarily employed at the Danish National Cluster for Maritime Logistics and Industry, MARLOG. She is also the project manager for the Connected Ship project, which is funded by Nordic Innovation. Nanna has previously working experience from the maritime industry in Copenhagen, where she also completed her master's degree at the Copenhagen Business School. Welcome to you, Nanna, and your colleague Johan.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, there's been a little technical issues. Thank you for the introduction. I'm here today with Johan Linden, and thank you for having us. It is such a great opportunity. It's such a great opportunity to be here, and we are very proud of our project. So, of course, we wanted to tell you more about it. We're here to tell you about the Connected Ship, which is an open IoT platform funded by the Nordic Innovation. Yeah. So 2 years ago, I don't know if we have the slides, if I can share the screen. Yeah.
There we go.
So this is our consortium of all the great partners in the project. And if you could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so 2 years ago, this project was created based on the needs of the ship owners. And throughout the project, we have been collaborating with several Danish ship owners to make sure that we were creating value for the industry. As I mentioned, the consortium is created by several clusters here in the Nordic and several tech companies. Some were from within the shipping industry and some from the outside, which made it very interesting and demanding to kind of like gap this knowledge bridge between knowing the industry and not knowing. But basically, the project was founded on the need of the ship owners. They wanted to own their own data and they want to be data driven. And we have created a platform which makes this possible. Throughout all the sensors that collect data, we give an overview, a holistic overview of not only existing systems, but also the data coming in from these sensors. And only by knowing your own data, you can reduce emissions and optimize the vessel performance. Yes, and actually right now the platform is being tested on a ship. And we last week our team met the ship in harbor to get the final feedbacks from the seafarers who will pilot these use cases that we have made in the project. They evolve around predictive maintenance and fuel and vessel optimization and of course safety. So this is actually a very interesting time for the project because it is happening right now, and Nina, she talked about actually implementing new solution, actually doing something, and I know Johan agrees with me, we are actually pretty proud of where the project is right now. And using digitalization in this green transition is difficult, but it is an option to actually reduce emissions. It also demands a great collaboration between human and technology, between sea and shore, because when we install these complex systems on ships, it relies on collaboration between the people who collect the data and use the data and the shore office. And on that note, I will give the word to Johan Linden from Mobile Heights, and he will go through the more technical part of our project. So thank you.
Thank you, Nana.
Thank you, Nana. Glad to be here and talk about this actually a very exciting product, Connected Ship. We have placed, I see that the presentation is not for us, but I will talk anyway. We have placed the sensors all over the ship. We're connected. Let's see, you can take next.
Yeah, one more slide.
Yeah, this is the picture we are on. But to the left, you can see all the dots, different kind of colors depending on what kind of sensors we have added. For example, you can see to the right of the screen, we have a big engine in the below to the right. And we are connected that through box 2 from bioelectronics, for example. And the lower gateway is connected to sensors that is using technology for sensors that is hard to reach. It's make it easier to put new sensors in different places on the ship. For example, you can also put sensors on every doors. So you can make sure that you're not enter the engine room during the night and so on. That's the safety reasons. And also we're connecting all this kind of data that are going through. It's a data backbone to the IGU. It's a sensitive platform that is actually handle all this sensor data. This sensor data is going to the decarbonising system, which is some kind of visualization, data storage, management of the data. You sync it then to land. When we have the data both on the ship and to land, we can add the third-party applications. This makes that the ship owners, they own the data, and also what can be done, they hire a company, a third-party company, to apply a service for fuel consumption improvement. You have logistic sync to enter the harbor in right time and so on. We also, to make sure to do all this kind of stuff, we are connecting to the navigation today and collect the data from the navigation. So we have the GPS data and so on, where the ship is located in time. Next slide. I will explain a little bit of the visualization. What can be done is that we have a map of each sensor. You can put different layers of the ship and find where the sensors are. You can search for it, and you can do a lot of things with this kind of management. So you can click on one sensor and get the full data log on that one, the history of it. And you can also connect all the kind of data in one page to have a summarized visualization dashboard. This is what you see to the black background picture. You can see it's actually a screenshot from the existing ship today to show where we are. You can see the engine is running. You can see the fuel level in what is remaining in the bunker, and also the temperatures in different places, and if door open and closed for different areas. That is basically very quickly, roughly, of this technology. Next page, I would like to say that we thank you for us. And if you would like to know more, you can either reach me and Anna. You can also go into see on the web page, theconnectedship.net.
Thank you to both of you, and I have a few questions for you. In which way does the ship owners use this technology and the insights that they get to lower their emissions?
I can answer first. We based the project on the use cases. So, for example, that was one of my slides. They use it for predictive maintenance and also collecting data about the fuel flows and so on. And
what incentives do they have to watch this or to follow these numbers?
I mean, they can always watch and follow those numbers, but the idea is that we add a third-party application on top. There are companies out there today, they're doing this kind of system for boats, for ships. But they are owning all the sensors and own the data. This is possible for the ship owner, Maersk Tanker, that is in this project. They own the data, and they could actually give or went out or give away the data and get the process data back. Then they own the full data chain, and they can add all this kind of technology on top of this. This is a utilization for a new system that we improve and lower the emissions.
Looks like there's a lot of applications for this technology. And what makes the Nordics like a good place to test this kind of technology?
I think we have shown in this project that Nordic collaboration is very valuable. In Denmark, we have several shipping companies that we have collaborated with broadly, and they are open and they are sharing data and they are trusting each other, collaborating to battle these obstacles in the green transition. And it has been the same way with the tech companies and the clusters. We are collaborating and trusting each other, and I think that has been very valuable.
Yeah, and I can also say that we are mixing in Sweden we're come quite far when it comes to smart city, and this is the technology they're bringing in to the shipping industry. And we are collaborating with, for example, Vasek, that's also in this in Finland. So Finland has this, they are huge player on the market, and together we can do the shift of this technology.
Thank you, both of you. And please stay put if there's some questions for Glasgow, in the end, we'll sum that up. But now for the next presentation, Håvard Tvete at the NCE Maritime Cleantech, joining us from Stord at the west coast of Norway. Håvard is the head of communication and public affairs at NCE Maritime Cleantech, a world-class Norwegian maritime cluster. They focus on channeling maritime expertise into the development of new energy efficient and environmentally friendly technologies. Håvard has previously worked as a senior advisor for the Norwegian Parliament for several years, as well as a guest lecturer at the EU EEA matters at the University College of Oslo and Akershus. So Håvard, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Peter, and good morning to everyone. I think the slides should have arrived. Yes, there it is. Yeah. Okay, so I'm talking to you from the west coast of Norway, and it's been very interesting to hear from the speakers so far. Decarbonizing shipping is a challenging global task where the Nordics are playing vital roles in finding the solutions. And as also earlier said here, a key word is then collaboration. I represent a business cluster with over 150 partners covering every stage of the maritime value chain, creating a leading ecosystem for green maritime innovation. We establish joint industry projects for demonstrating new energy systems on board ships. Next slide, please, Peter. Shipping is now facing a major transition from fossil to renewable fuels, and this shift represents many challenges, but also great maritime business opportunities. Demonstrating new energy systems must be done alongside establishing new and green supply chains and bunkering solutions for ships. And at the same time, we need to develop new regulations and safety protocols. Next slide, please. I will now introduce you to some of the green and innovative projects taking place in the maritime industry here in Norway. These projects have been made possible through both Nordic and European collaboration and are all representing front runners when it comes to developing zero emission solutions for sea transport worldwide. Next slide, please. I'll start with the tram project. Here we are now constructing the world's first certified zero-emission fast ferry. This project is revolutionary, both in terms of zero-emission technologies and advanced modular production methods. Equipped to carry around 150 passengers, the vessel is planned for a public route between the city of Stavanger and surrounding communities. And this is a great example of how public buyers can use their purchasing power, both to reduce emissions from public transport and to accelerate the technology development needed in the industry. The next project I want to highlight is the Ship FC project, where we are developing and demonstrating a full-scale zero-emission energy system running on ammonia. Here we'll see an offshore vessel have a large ammonia fuel cell retrofitted allowing the vessel to sail on clean fuel for up to 3,000 hours annually. The project will demonstrate that long-range zero-emission voyages with high power on larger ships are possible. And before returning to you in Helsinki, Peter, I also want to mention the 2 hydrogen projects on this slide. The Flagships project, where the partners are demonstrating 2 hydrogen fuel cell vessels, including the world's first commercial cargo transport vessel operating on hydrogen. And finally, the HyShip project, aiming to design and construct a coastal cargo demonstration vessel running on liquid green hydrogen, in addition to establishing a hydrogen supply chain and bunkering platform. The future fuel for shipping is not yet decided, and there will probably not be one fuel that fits all kinds of ships and all kinds of maritime operations. We need to continue developing, demonstrating a wide range of energy carriers in a wide range of energy systems on board a wide range of vessels. And to support this green transition, we need public-private collaboration like the Nordic and European funding schemes to reduce risks. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Håvard, and some questions from my side. I'm just curious, very many interesting projects, but you mentioned this tram project, setting an example of how future public transportation could look like with zero emissions. Is the market interest in such vessels there?
Thank you, Peter. A highly relevant question. What our industry partners are reporting is that the market and the world is ready to take on this technology as soon as it is available and proven in the market. Cities around the world have an ever-increasing demand for more sustainable solutions for passenger transport, and many of them are close to sea and waterways. So making zero-emission passenger vessels the future norm.
And you touched ammonia and hydrogen. Are you expecting this? These are expected to play a major role in the decarbonization of shipping, but are still immature and not proven concepts. What do the industry frontrunners need for taking investment decisions on such technologies?
Thank you again, Peter. This is essential to scale up and commercialize our pilot projects and new technologies. The cost gap between conventional and green technologies must be reduced. It's important to compensate for higher operating costs for the front runners in the creation of these new markets. Contracts of difference might be a relevant incentive to speed up this implementation of green technologies in shipping. And then again, we need and welcome a close European collaboration on this.
Thank you very much. So, Sven, any hands in the audience?
I think we have a very attentive audience, but unfortunately we are almost running out of time.
Yes.
I would just like to come up with one final question, and that is basically, these projects all look very promising and nice, but does this have global scale in terms of financing? I mean, you and the Nordic countries are rich countries with lots of resources for R&D. Do you see this play out globally?
Great question. Deep sea shipping is international. Following the development of the regulations in the EU are now pushing the IMO regulations. that is important for making a global market for the zero emission technologies. But most important is the role that the Nordics now are playing as a laboratory for greener shipping, and where we are demonstrating the pilots. And now battery electric are ready for the world, and we need to demonstrate and validate other technologies a little more, and then they also can hopefully be part of a global shipping market.
So
thank you. And so concluding from Helsinki and the COP26 hub here in this great city, are we fit for 55 and en route to decarbonizing the maritime sector? No doubt there are many very exciting initiatives underway, and the future will still hold the answers to that. Good news is that the Nordics are pushing forward and making the ship turn gradually. So thank you to all the participants that have presented today, to everyone who joined in Glasgow and here in Helsinki, and over to you, Sven, and out from Helsinki. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's heating up here in Glasgow now, and we had a very good and attentive audience. So for now, I think we close down and let's ready for the next side event in the Nordic Pavilion. Thank you very much for your cooperation and good work, Peter. Thank you.